When someone is in your home, you have every right to protect yourself and your family. And I encourage people to do that because I can't have a deputy out in front of everybody's house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, protecting every house. And I think most reasonable people are going to agree with that.
As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
Now, in addition to these individual measures that each person can take for their personal safety or their family safety when they're out, there's also other types of upsets that can happen. Natural disasters can happen. And part of the focus of our channel is about readiness for whatever might come. Recently, York County, Wood County, was one of the few counties in the country that was affected by a nationally publicized disaster in the domestic water supply was tainted and declared unfit to drink in the Toledo and surrounding areas, which affected up to, some estimates say, 500,000 people for a period of days. If you can tell some specific awarenesses that were gained from that experience, and in general, what types of preventative or precautionary measures you recommend people should take to make sure that their family is going to be able to take care of what they need in times of disaster?
Absolutely. Well, one of the fortunate things that happened for us in Wood County, we have several different water sources. We have, first of all, many people like myself who are on well water, so I was unaffected. And geographically, the largest part of our county is served by a different water system than the one coming from Toledo that gets its water out of the Maumee River, and they did not have any issues. Their water was good to go. The other thing that, the area that was affected was the northern part of our county that borders Lucas County, which is where Toledo is. So some of our cities were affected, but we found out that many of them cut themselves off of the Toledo supply because from the time they do their testing, those microbes had not made it into Wood County, so they were able to cut themselves off. And there are talks now that they're looking into putting an interconnect between the water system that gets the water out of the river and the system that is tied into the Toledo system, putting a connection in there that could temporarily open if there were a problem in the future. Let's say one water plant is down for some reason, they could hook in to the other system and maybe on a short term feed both. There are a lot of challenges in doing that because now you're potentially mixing two different water systems together, so there will be some challenges. But I really think one of the positive things that will happen is they will resolve those issues so that we can turn off from one system and have the people get the water from another. But what you and I can do, we should have bottled water in our homes to have drinking water regardless. I mean, it's a sign that things can happen, whether there's a major water break or again, the situation with the unfit water from Toledo. Things happen. So certainly having bottled water stashed away, and you're going to know better than I do on the shelf life, but I know the shelf life is quite long for water when it's in a dark area, as long as light is not shining on it. So strongly recommend you get water because as long as you can drink, you're okay. Because certainly no matter how bad the water is, you can use it to flush your toilets. And certainly it would take a lot before we would not be able to bathe in the water. So drinking water, we can go, and we don't have to bathe, do we? We like it when our family members and friends bathe, but whether we like it or not, we have to drink water. So having some water stored in the home is certainly a very wise, prudent thing to do for many reasons.
Besides natural disasters, you're also an expert on people getting registered for sexual predator alerts. Another way that people want to keep their families safe is from other types of harm, which can come from human causes as well, not just natural causes. So can you tell us a little bit about why this is important and what specific steps, how people can partner with their sheriff in that regard?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer not only with the sexual offenders, but many other things in our lives. Knowledge is power, and I think that's certainly something that you talk about in part of the preparedness is knowing what is going on, and we try to make it as easy as we can when it comes to the people that we register. One of the duties of an Ohio sheriff is to register and keep track of our sex offenders. We started several years ago the ability to get email notifications for anyone we register in my office or any office in the state of Ohio, any sheriff's office in the state of Ohio. We have to register the sex offenders based on what county they live in, where they live, work, or go to school. So basically, you could have one person that might have to register with 3 counties if they live in one county, work in the other county, and go to school in the third county. And that does happen because some of people who live relatively close or do business or go to school where the counties are close together, maybe in a corner of an area where you're close to multiple counties. So with this email notification, when we sign them up, and our deputy has all the information of what they were charged with, what tier they are, we have a picture. So when he registers them into the Attorney General's website, because all this stuff goes filtered through the Ohio Attorney General's office, you will get instantly. My understanding is it's virtually the same time he sends it into the AG's office. At that point, it gets emailed out to our email list based on a radius that people put in when they sign up. You can put in, I just want to know people that are a quarter mile away from me, a half a mile away, a mile away, or maybe even living in a rural area and they want to know 2 miles away. You will get an email showing you a map where you live or where the address is that you put in, because it doesn't have to be your home. It could be the address of a daycare. It could be your babysitter. It could be a relative that you put in their address. And so you can now see where your address is and where the sex offender is living. You will get a picture of the sex offender. You will find out what tier they are. You will find out what the original crime was that they committed. And this is very helpful, especially what the original crime was. And let me explain a example of someone you are going to want to be concerned about and someone that maybe is no more of a risk than anyone else.
Yeah, please.
We had a person who had to register with us for 10 years because when he was 19 years old, he was dating a 15-year-old girl. And her parents were not happy with it, so they filed charges against him. And that was because of the age difference at that point. Again, her being 15, him being 19, that was an offense, and thereby requiring him for 10 years to register with us. Let's move forward 10 years, even less than that. She grew up. She got to be 18, and he is now, 22. They get married. They now have 3 children. They live in a subdivision. They work. If they live next door to me, I would have no issues or concerns because he is now, 10 years later, he's 29. She's 25. He is not, in my eyes, looking at my 15-year-old daughter, and it's a different time now. You know what I mean? He's in love with his wife. They have children. He's no more risk to reoffending than any other 29-year-old person. Okay. So, to me, yes, he had to register because of what he did when he was 19. He did violate the law. He had to register with us, but again, not a high-risk person. Let's take another example. We have people who are pedophiles, that are adults, that are grown up, who are attracted to young boys, young girls, and have offended children. These people, these pedophiles, we know that they will get caught. 65% of them will get caught reoffending with another child. 65% get caught. Well, that tells me that a much higher percentage than that are offending because not everyone gets caught. So when I have a pedophile that is registered, and again, normally those are tier 3, those are the highest that require us to actually do a mailing and do notifications to everyone in the area, that's someone that you're really going to want to pay attention to and be aware of that, hey, I'm not going to have my child playing at his house. I'm not going to have my child selling Girl Scout cookies there, or I'm not going to have my child doing odd jobs for this person.
Right.
Because this pedophile probably, statistically, is going to reoffend, and I want to make sure it's not with my child. If I don't sign up for the email notifications and I'm outside of the, I think it's a 1,200-foot range that we have to send a notification, we always broaden that a little bit. But if I live nearby, I want to know. That's something that is really, really important for me to know this person because it's extremely likely they're going to offend again. The email notifications are free. Every sheriff in the state of Ohio does it, and there are, I think it's 19 different states that use watch systems. That's the program we use for the tracking of sex offenders. And if you live in Ohio, you can go to any of our websites. You can go to my website and sign up because we're all connected. So you can put in any address. Actually, I just found out the other day, this is even great news. If you go to my website, woodcountysheriff.com, you can not only put in any address in the state of Ohio, you can put in any address in the state of Michigan, and you can put in any address in the state of Indiana. Because the same company does all those states, and they actually do 19 of the states. So if Watch System does your states, you can go through my website to enter your address to get the email notifications. My frustration is that we only have, and I just checked it this morning, 13.1% of our households are signed up for email notifications. And we're in the top 10 nationally of percentages of households that are signed up. So actually, as far as Watch Systems, and if I look at my peers, we're doing great. I am very disappointed that we're only at 13%. We should be at 80% or more. But there are some people that ignorance is bliss. They don't want to know. I've gone and spoken to groups, and what I do to help get our numbers up is I actually have them fill out the form while I speak, and then I collect the form when I leave, and then we enter it, because if I ask people to enter it, by the time they get home, they get distracted, they don't do it. I've actually had some people say, I don't want to know. That's their right, privilege to do that. I don't understand that mentality, but that's their mentality, and that's certainly their prerogative to not sign up and not want to know. But I think a vast majority of people would want to know if there's a sex offender living down the street or around the corner or a couple blocks away.
The subtitle of our site here is Aware and Prepared. And how can you be aware without getting information, as you mentioned, information being power, and then being prepared so that you can take other actions. You can choose to avoid or keep your family safe in some other way, so that you first have to have the awareness, though. It sounds like the key is it's an opt-in system, so you need to opt in by registering with your sheriff's office.
Absolutely, because some people don't want to know, so I guess that's why it's important to have that opt-in. But I think the other thing to bear in mind, a great example of where this helped out, we recently found out that there was it was like a babysitting club. It was a group of parents in an elementary school that got together and said, hey, how about if we watch each other's children? If we want to go out to dinner, or we work till this time, or we'll watch, if you watch them after school, I'll watch yours on Saturday. And they've been doing this for a while. And one of them signed up for email notifications and found out that one of the parents a few years ago, as an adult parent, had relations with a 15-year-old girl or 14-year-old girl, and it happened years ago, but he was an adult, and much further age difference than what I used in my example earlier, and they would not have had any idea, because he had committed this before they were required to do the ongoing notifications. But anyway, they found out through our email notifications that he was a sex offender, and certainly opened up their eyes of, gee, they seem like a normal couple. They've got kids in my children's school. We see them all the time. Had no idea. You can't tell by looking at people that they're a sex offender.
Now, on another topic related to home protection, a number of our viewers are very concerned about their ability to, especially if they've locked their doors and they've got some stockpiles perhaps of food and water or other things, they want to be able to also protect their home, their domestic castle. And on the topic of home protection, there's a related topic of concealed carry registration, and there are safety considerations that go. As you mentioned, some people are on the, I don't want to know about registered sex offenders in my area. Some people are on the, I don't ever want even think about there being people. It tends to be a hot and cold issue. Some people want firearms. Some people want nothing to do with them. Some people feel that it increases their domestic safety. Some people feel the exactly opposite. But if you could just walk us through some of the recommendations, considerations you talk with people about concealed carry, what role the sheriff's office has to do with that, and specifically home protection and firearm safety considerations.
Absolutely. Ohio sheriffs were the only law enforcement, I'm the third vice president of the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, and our association was very vocal in support of people being able to carry concealed weapons. And all the rest of the law enforcement organizations in the state of Ohio were against it. So because we were the one that was for it when it passed, we now have the honor and pleasure of issuing the permits for carry concealed weapons. I am a very strong believer that if someone wants to carry a gun, they're a law-abiding citizen, they get the permit, they certainly can and should carry their weapon, where they're comfortable doing that, if they're comfortable doing it. I think people need to be responsible in being prudent in the use of it. Certainly, I think our qualifications on the training, the one time they have to show their proficiency, and this may upset some of the gun people. My concern is there are some people that will get a gun and shoot it one time or one day when they go to get the permit, and they put bullets in it, and they basically forget about it, and they never shoot it again until there's an emergency. They're not going to be very accurate. They're going to have issues. So I encourage people who carry a gun to practice with the gun,
right?
To the ammo. I knew one person that had a gun that the bullets that he had in his gun, after I questioned him about it, they had been in his gun for over 20 years. So I'm not sure I would want to have my life depend on bullets that have been in a gun in all different temperatures in different environments for 20 years, and all of a sudden expect that when I pull the trigger it's going to fire. Now, maybe it will, but I certainly would not bet my life on it. So I think there's certainly responsibility on the gun holder's part, in my opinion, to be proficient with that gun, to be comfortable with that gun, to practice with that gun, because what you do in a real situation is going to be directly related to how you practice and how you prepare yourself for that. But getting back to that, I certainly feel very strongly in the castle law that if someone is breaking into your home or breaks into your home, you have every right to do what you need to do to protect yourself and your family in your home. No question that is, and the law is going to back you up when someone is in your home. You have every right to protect yourself and your family, and I encourage people to do that, because I can't have a deputy out in front of everybody's house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, protecting every house. And I think most reasonable people are going to agree with that. I also strongly feel that they need to educate their family members on what the gun is, how the gun works, the gun safety of that gun, not just the person that's going to use it, but I think the whole family has to know. And that's something that my son, since he was very young, I've always showed him gun safety, allowed him to shoot my guns so that he had a comfort level. And I think I eliminated a lot of the mystique and the mystery of the gun by not saying, well, gee, when you get older, I'll let you look at it. I'm going to put this on the shelf until you're older, because I think a lot of times children are going to be curious and saying, okay, well, when Dad's not, because children watch this. If you have a key hidden somewhere, a combination, our children watch everything. I think it'd be easy for a child, not trying to be malicious, to know, okay, I know the combination to safe, or I know where the key's hidden to the gun cabinet. If we get rid of the mystery of it and let them see the gun when it's unloaded, and let them, show them how to load, unload, how to make the gun safe, let them shoot the gun, they're going to feel not obligated to try to sneak and look at it when you're not around, in my opinion. So to answer your question on how I feel, I very strongly am a supporter of the Second Amendment rights of bearing arms and people being able to protect themselves with a gun, and certainly their homes.
Now, a related article came out just last month. The title of the article was provocative: Sheriffs Ignore Gun Laws in Support of Second Amendment Citizens. The first leadoff sentence: some sheriffs in rural areas across the U.S. are vowing to ignore tighter gun laws and stand with the people they serve to support the Second Amendment. In your role as sheriff, what are the dynamics that you see playing out in our country? And could you give us sort of an inside perspective of what some of the considerations are that sheriffs are facing in different states around the country as these laws are discussed?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to really emphasize that we are a country of laws, and we have a legal system that has checks and balances. And I have taken an oath to uphold the laws of the state of Ohio and uphold the Constitution. So someone's going to come back and say, oh, wait a minute, we have this law now that maybe is going to say it's unconstitutional to have this type of a gun or to do whatever. That my job as the sheriff is not to interpret law. It is not my place to sit there and say, well, I agree with this law, I don't agree with that law. We have a court system that if someone doesn't agree with the law, then we need to go through the legal process and appeal those laws, fight those laws. But I have to enforce the laws. And let me give you an example. I may not believe in abortion. There are abortions can be done legally. But because I don't agree with abortions, does that mean I should be able to arrest the doctor, the nurses, and maybe the mother of that child for murder because they have an abortion? The answer is no. I can't go do that. I wouldn't be sheriff very long if I decided to put it on myself that I'm going to start arresting doctors that are legally, based on the laws, committing that, even though I morally, religiously, and personally feel that that's murder. I can't, because our society is saying that it's okay to do these abortions. And again, that's an extreme example, but let's do the same thing with the guns. Or any other law, if I sit there and say, well, I have a different interpretation of this law, so I'm not going to enforce this, but I'm going to enforce that, we're going to get into a lot of problems. We live in the best country in the world. We may not agree, and I certainly don't agree with all the politics that we have, and I don't agree with all the laws, but it's not my place, nor is it any other sheriff's place, to start picking and choosing how they're going to enforce one law or not enforce the other. I will certainly be outspoken, both publicly and privately, about gun laws and all the different restrictions that may be out there. But we had laws when Bill Clinton was in office that eliminated a lot of our AR-15s and different weapons, and that expired, and then they were allowed again. Well, I don't remember people not enforcing that law when Bill Clinton was president. Didn't agree with it. I didn't like it, but it was law.
Sounds like your overall approach, though, is that people should speak out and be aware and exercise their democratic rights as citizens to oppose any laws that they believe to be unfair, unjust, or wrong against the Constitution, that sort of thing, but to do it through the channels that are available. And your role as sheriff is the same, is to uphold the laws that exist.
Yeah, and I will be and have been very outspoken for gun rights, but I also have a job to do, and that is to enforce the laws, whether I agree with them, whether I like them or don't like them. There are ways to do that, and that is to pay attention on who you elect. Who do you elect as a judge? Our judges, certainly on the local level, state level, Supreme Court, are elected. Now, I understand the federal judges are appointed, and that's why we have to pay attention to who we elect as our president,
right? Because
they're the ones that are going to appoint those judges. So let's not put it on the sheriff, or let's not put it on whoever. Let's pay attention to who we elect in the White House. And maybe we like, some people vote for the president because they like all the social programs and like all the, hey, we're going to have all this, he's going to give us this and give us health care, give us all those things, like it or not, what have you. But more importantly, where is he at philosophically? What type of person is he going to put in there as judge? So if we don't like what the federal judges are doing, then we need to really pay attention 2 years from now when we have new people running for president, and not only maybe vote for whoever we like that is running for that office, but maybe even sending a few dollars. And believe me, I have talked to candidates that are running for a national office. Those $20 donations make a big difference. That $20 adds up and helps them in that campaign. And that's actually one of the things that President Obama did. He did a really grassroots where people were able to tweet in their, however, use their smartphones to make donations to his campaign. Very smart. I mean, that was you have to give the guy credit on how he ran both his campaigns, and he won both times. So do we sit there and say, gee, this guy shouldn't be president? He should, I was at a function the other day yesterday, as a matter of fact, and said, we ought to impeach the president. Well, why? He did what he said he was going to do. What has he done as president that he didn't tell us ahead of time he wasn't going to do? And he overwhelmingly got. He certainly won. It wasn't as close as it was with Bush and Gore. He won by a big enough margin that this is what the country, the people voted. So that's what we have, and we are again a country of laws. And the nice thing is, we're going to have an opportunity in 2 years to elect someone that perhaps will be much more open to Second Amendment rights.
Speaking of the power of electronic age, what about cybersecurity? As people, you mentioned, Facebook or other things can be influential in terms of getting things done socially. What are other ways that people need to make sure that they're keeping themselves and their families safe online?